Hello, Nikolai Markovich from Echolake Technologies, echolaketech.com. And in this second video, I'm going to continue on with showing you how to create a messaging app using Bubble. Now, I've already gone ahead and created, built out a lot of this already just to kind of expedite the video here. So the last time we left off, we were on the index page. And what I've done is I've actually created a contact list page here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through it in detail. Now the first thing is in this area here, we basically have an ability to add contacts. So if you're going to have a messaging app, you want to be able to add contacts to your message thread. And if a person already has an account set up within the app, then you can simply go and add them over here. In this area, if they don't have an account set up, then basically this area here allows you to go and send them an invite. And in this area here, we basically have a repeating group, and that is going to show you all the list of your contacts that you have set up. Now, in this video, again, it's going to be set up or showing how to set up your contacts. In the next video, we'll start getting into the actual messaging part of it. The reason why we need to do contacts is it's kind of hard to have messaging if you don't have contacts to message to. All right, let's get into it. So right here, basically what we have is just a simple text field saying find contact by typing in the email below. And then right here we have an input, which is of type email, and then add contact. And this push button here is for add contact. Now I did put this in a group here, and the reason being, you can see group add contact, the reason being is that when I go and add the contact, I want to go and reset the data within this group. I can't reset the data within this input field here. I have to do it at a group level. And the reason why I want to do that is just that after a contact has been added, I just want to kind of reset this field here. So let's just go right into this workflow. All right, so now on this workflow, there's a couple of different situations that you can have. Now, one of them is that you don't want to add your name yourself to your contact list because you already know who you are and you're already in the message. The other thing is if there is somebody who's already in the contact list, you don't want to necessarily go and add them again because they're already in your contact list. So you may have forgotten or whatever and you just retyped it. But we want to allow for that situation as well. Then the other one is that the user is not in the database. So when you type it in and their name isn't there, we want to also have provisions for that. And basically what I've done here is I've created an alert. Let me go back over here. All right, I've created this alert, and basically an alert is just it's kind of like a pop-up, but it just shows up for a couple of seconds, and I'll show you. You can determine how long the duration will be. You can send it data and so forth, but you can't add buttons and drop downs and things to it. It's a pop-up that just gives you a quick message, and that's it. So what I've done is here I've got this pop-up. And you can see I've got it set up for, and these are the default values, set up for half a second for fading in. It's going to hold for 2 seconds, and then it's going to fade out in the last half second here. Now for this one, what I've done is there is a default message on here. Can't find input user's name. Please check your typing or invite your contact. So that's the default. Now what I've done here though, and this is kind of a nice thing with the alert, is I can go and change it. All right, and what I did was for this condition, when the current user's contact contains this email, so the person, when you type in the email address, it's going to look to see if there's a user with that email. And if it's already in the contact list, then it's going to have this message show up that says that, hey, this person is already in your contact list. Now I should also point out that one of the other things that I did was in the user data type, I created my contacts. So basically, and it's a list of users. So basically what this allows me is that for each of the users, you can go and create your own contact list. That's all that this does right here. Okay, so for this scenario here, again, this just checks to see if the current user, whoever's logged in, if their contact list contains the person whose email is the same as what's in the input, then I'm going to have this message pop up and says, hey, that person is already in your contact list. The next step is it's going to terminate this workflow. So basically, when you go and you type in here and try to add contact for somebody who's already in your list, it's basically going to say, hey, you've already got that person in your list, and then it stops this whole workflow. The next scenario here is basically if this user is not in the database at all, so it's going to do a search to see if any of the users have that email address. If the count is less than or 0, then what it's going to do is it's going to come up with this default value or message that they can't find it, so please either check your typing or send an invite. Now I could have gone and typed it in here, something different, but this is the default message that I wanted. And then similarly, terminate the workflow. So we've got through 2 of the conditions so far. This next one here is basically if the current user, so you as a user logged in, if your email is the same as that input's email value, then it's basically going to pop up and say, hey, you can't add yourself to this contact list. And then similarly terminate the workflow. And then the next one is basically, this one's a little bit more complicated in terms of the this only when. So it's basically going to search to see if there is a user already in the database. So is there somebody with this email already in the database? The count is 1. And also, just to verify that the email is not the user's email value. And then the last one here is to see that the contact isn't already in the database. I should say into the contacts list. So it's checking again to see, is the person already in the database? Is the person not me? And is the person already in my list? And then if not, then it's going to go and add that person based on what the email is. And then it's going to say, it's going to pop this up and say, hey, yep, we're going to add that person to the contact list. And then the last thing here is just to reset the data. So again, if you're typing in somebody's email here, then it's going to go and it is going to go and refresh it to clear it out when it's all done. Let's see, the other reason why we have a group here, this group contact to point out, is that I have this input should not be empty. Okay, so basically when I have this button here, if this value is empty, it's not going to allow me to submit an email address. So by having this in a group, I can do that. If I didn't have any groups, like there's another group here, if these were not in groups, then Bubble wouldn't be able to know that this input goes with this push button. All right, moving on, we're going to go to the scenario when the user is not into the database. And so you type in their email here, and you type in their first name here. And the reason for their first name is just there'll be an email that gets sent out and to personalize it. So let's get into that workflow. So basically when the button is pushed, what we're going to do is we're going to send it to that input contact's value, so their email address. The reply to, so specify different reply to. What you want to do here is basically put in your email so that if they do a reply, it goes to your email address and not a generic email address to the app. And then the next thing is the sender's name, so their first and last name. It's your first and last name. And then in the subject, we basically want to say, personalize it a little bit and say, hey, Joe or Sue or whoever, join this cool app. And then over here in the body, it's basically, hey Joe or hey Sue, whoever you put in for the first name, just a simple message here. The other thing is that in here, I'm going to go to the, let's see, there we go. A little bit of a delay here on the editor. So basically what I've got here is I set up this link so that in the email that they get, they'll go and click on this link to go and sign up. And basically this is the link right here. You can see it in this screen. And then afterwards we want to, again, do a reset for the data. Okay, now moving on. I'm actually going to hide this. And the next thing is this repeating group. And basically, what we've got here is a simple repeating group. It's going to be the current users, my contacts. So back to the database, got the user and my contacts. So it's basically going to show all of my contacts, and I've got a simple sort here by their last name. You can do it by first name, you could do it by email. You've got all sorts of different choices here. And so that's that part of it. And then the text, it's simply their first name, their last name, and their email. That's all that I added in here. So you could certainly put other content in here. You could add their address, you could add their telephone number if you wanted, and so forth. Now the other thing I did in here is if I wanted to remove somebody from my list, basically we have this, and I have it set up as a pop-up. So what I want to do is, for this pop-up, I'm going to have open up a pop-up, but first I need to send the data to that pop-up. So when you have a pop-up, if you don't send data to it, it doesn't know what to work on for the data. So what we need to do is for a specific pop-up, you want to send the current cell's user. So for this one, it's going to send this current cell. If it was this one, it's going to send that current cell. So if this was Joe and this was Sue, when you click on the trash can here, it's going to basically send that user's information. And then it's going to simply show the pop-up. So again, when you click the trash can, you want to display the data in the pop-up, and then you want to go and open the pop-up. So this is a critical thing. Sometimes you'll see people, they'll just go and they'll just open up the pop-up and there'll be no information on that user there. So it's important that you go and you set up this display data for the pop-up. All right, now where's my pop-up? Here it is. And basically in this pop-up, it just says, are you sure you want to remove the parent group's user's first name and their last name from your contact list? Again, it's just to say, hey, are you really sure you want to remove this person from your contact list? If you click no, it just simply hides the pop-up. If you click yes, then what it's going to do is it's going to go to the current user. So that would be you as a user logged in, and it's going to go to your My Contacts list, and it's going to remove the parent group's user. So that, if you remember, we sent data from the cell to the pop-up, and basically what this is doing is it's removing that person from your contact list. It's as simple as that. And then we hide it. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Let's go and we can give this a demo. I do have this set up over here. Let me just do a refresh. And I am already logged in as user 1 here. And I've already got this preloaded with a list of contacts. So I'm just scrolling up and down on it. Now, so I use at test.com for made up email addresses. Now, when I do add contact, and this is going to be quick again, you remember half a second to turn on, 2 seconds for the message, the alert message, and then half a second. So now this should tell me that I can't add myself, and it does. You can't add yourself to the contact list. Let me do that again because it goes by kind of quick. Now, I've got user 2 here, and now this should say that I've already got user 2 on my list. User 2 is already in your contact list. Do that again. All right. Now let's just make up, I think this one doesn't exist. User doesn't exist at all. Can't find user test, please check typing. Oh, that was real quick. Or invite contact to join the app. So on this one, I actually may want to change the duration on this to make it last a little bit longer. So let's just go back to the to the workflow. I can't find. This is the generic. Yep, that's the generic one. So let's make this 4 seconds. So user at test.com. There, a little bit longer to read that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete user 2. Are you sure you want to remove user 2 first name, user 2 last name from your contact list? Yes. And that user 2 is gone. Now let's add user 2 back. Whoops. I've got a little bit of an error there. I'll have to take a look at that. But now if I type in user 2 at test.com, he's already in that, or she, or whatever that user is already in my list. Now I want to go and if the user, so again, go back to user, that person is not in there. So what I would do here is I would go and type in their, so let's just say user at test.com, and their first name is Bob or whatever. And then actually I'm going to do it so that you could see that I'm clicking the invite contact and I can't send it. But what if I type Bob, then it's going to go and send it. Now that's a made up email address, and but what I did was I actually used an actual email address that I sent to myself, and this is a message that gets sent. So basically, if you remember that this was the name that was typed into the input field, and then also this link. And I'm just going to copy this link. I come over here and paste and go. Like that. All right, so this is basically, so for a new user, they're going to come to this page and they're going to go create an account. But what I'm going to do is go to the contacts. And there we go, to the contacts. So that basically is how to go and add contacts if they're either in the database, to just go and add their email address here and they'll show up in your repeating group. And if they don't exist in the database, then you have a way of going and inviting them. And then again, they'll get this email, completely customizable, but they'll get this email to go and sign up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. And again, this is a second in a series of videos on how to create a messenger app. And we'll continue on in the next video to start building out the actual messenger itself. So thank you again, and we'll see you in the next video.